The square is quiet now, but in the brittle morning light, the stones still carry a faint stain, darker than rain, older than memory. You stand among the hush of a gathering crowd, their breath hanging like mist in the cold air, eyes wide with a hunger that feels unnatural. Somewhere nearby, a black bird sings, piercing the silence like a crack in stained glass. And before you can look away, the rhythm begins. The slow drag of boots, the muffled sob of a mother, the creak of rope. You smell blood and burning wood. You feel the weight of waiting justice, or vengeance, or something far older. And whether you came for mercy or spectacle, it is far too late to leave. If this story chills your bones or stirs your heart, tell me, could you have looked away? Subscribe for more forgotten histories, and share your thoughts. Which part of this tale haunts you the most? The drum beat comes not from a drum, but from the soles of 1,000 boots stirring the morning fog. It begins low, like a whisper, beneath the cobblestones, and slowly gathers strength. You feel it first through your shoes, a soft rumble, as if the town itself were holding its breath. The streets, normally quiet at this hour, begin to thrum with urgency. From behind shutters and warped doors, figures emerge like moths from cocoons. Mothers with shawls drawn tight over their heads, old men hunched and muttering, children with wide eyes and no understanding, all of them walking the same way, toward the square. The sky is a dull pewter grey, the kind that bleeds no light. A soft mist drapes over everything, a blanket too thin, too warm, too thick to see through. You step over a broken shoe, a crust of bread, a chicken's feather. Someone is burning rosemary somewhere nearby to purify the air, perhaps, or to mask something darker. And there, ahead of you, the platform rises from the earth like an altar, as if it had always been there. If this story stirs your thoughts, or stills your breath, share your thoughts below. Could you have walked toward the square, or would you have turned back? Please subscribe if you'd like to walk further into the forgotten corners of our past, where history breathes beneath the silence. It stands in the center of the town like a darkened crown, not tall, but terrible in its simplicity, rough-hewn. Planks stained by time and storm. No banners flutter, no music plays, and yet the people gather as if it were a feast day. You walk slower now. Each step closer feels like a descent, as though the very street were sloping toward some unspoken abyss. Around you, the square unfolds, cracked stones darkened with dew, market stalls half-raised and abandoned, a stray dog curling beside a mound of Hessian sacks. The innkeeper from the Red Mare wipes his hands on his apron, eyes on the scaffold. Even the baker, whose ovens never sleep, has let his fire go out. You pass a mother whispering to her child. "Don't look," she murmurs, wrapping her fingers tightly over his eyes. But her own gaze does not waver. She watches with the hollow stillness of someone who has seen this before, and will see it again. The air smells of wet wood and something metallic beneath it. Not yet blood, but the memory of it. You can feel it clinging to the scaffolding, like a stain that can never be scrubbed away. A rope dangles above, swaying gently in the breeze like a pendulum that keeps time in lives. The townspeople press forward, elbows brush against you. Breath fogs the air like smoke. Some mutter prayers beneath their breath, not for salvation, but for calm, for detachment. You hear snippets. Thief, again. Murder, wasn't it? Midwife, no, a witch. But the truth doesn't matter here, only the spectacle. Boy chases a goose through the crowd, laughing, and then stops, breath-catching, when he sees the structure before him. His laughter folds into silence, like a flame snuffed out. You edge closer to the front. The platform towers above now, for thick beams driven into the ground like spears, with steps that creak under no weight. On its surface, a square of cloth has been laid red, though whether by dye or by repetition of purpose, you cannot say. 2 guards flank the stairs. Their armor is not polished. Their faces are blank. They stand as if carved from the same dark wood that holds the noose aloft. One turns his head slightly and sees you looking. He does not blink. You find a corner near the front, a gap between a butcher and a washerwoman with cracked, red hands. She holds a sprig of dried heather between her fingers, a token of some kind, a ward, or maybe just a comfort. You wonder what she sees, looking up at that platform. A loved one's past. Her own future. A bell chimes from the church tower. Once, then twice. No one counts. They already know the hour. Time, in this place, feels strange, too fast and too slow. You blink, and the crowd has doubled. You breathe, and the wind carries a faraway cry. You try to step back, but there is nowhere to go. The square has closed in like a fist. You are held, caught, part of something far larger than curiosity or cruelty. A ritual, a reckoning. Somewhere near your feet, a dog begins to howl to your left. A man dressed in black scribbles into a ledger, dipping his quill into a bottle of ink tied around his waist. He nods with each name called. He does not look up. You wonder if your name is there, and then silence, like the sky itself, has swallowed sound. No chatter, no coughs, no movement. Even the wind stills. The rope above sways once more, then stills, as if noticing it is being watched. This is not just justice. It is performance. It is warning. It is hunger. And still you stay. Still you watch. Still you listen for the next sound. The one that always comes. It smells like old smoke and damp moss. Not the kind that lingers after a warm hearth, but the smoke that clings to ash long since cooled. Fire without light. Memory without mercy. The wood is dark, as if it drank every drop of history that ever touched it. You approach it slowly, your fingers twitching at your side. Part of you wants to touch it. Part of you doesn't want to know what it feels like. Still, you reach out. The beam beneath your palm is splintered, not just from age, but from purpose. It's been scarred by chains and nails, boots and blades. Grooves carved not by craftsmen, but by struggle. The tar seals nothing. It only makes it glisten, as if it still bleeds. They say it was built last night, hauled into place under cover of darkness, while the town slept uneasy in their beds. But standing here now, beneath its looming weight, you wonder how that could be true. It feels ancient, as if it grew here from the soil itself, as if the town were built around it, not the other way round. You run your hand along the railing, fingers trailing over nicks and dents, and something that might be dried wax, or something else. Above, the noose dangles like a single thread, pulled loose from the world's fabric, waiting to unravel the next life. Voices murmur behind you. A few men stand near the edge of the square, smoking clay pipes with expressions dulled by repetition. This is not their first morning here. You hear one of them say, "They'll start late again, always do." Another spits onto the stones. "Build it fast, tear it slow," he mutters, before turning his eyes back toward the scaffold. You step up, slowly. No one stops you. The guards haven't arrived yet, Or perhaps they don't care. The first stair creaks beneath your weight, not from protest, but from remembrance, as if it knows why it exists. A boy is already sitting at the top. He's small, maybe 10, maybe 12, legs drawn up, a blunt carving knife in one hand and a strip of wood in the other. He doesn't look up as you approach. His clothes are patchwork, stitched from linen and rough-spun wool, layered like autumn leaves worn through by too many seasons. He cuts slowly, carefully, tongue pressed into the corner of his mouth. You sit a few feet from him. The platform feels cold, even though the sun has begun to rise. From here, the town looks strange. The familiar, warped by height. The bakery, the smithy, the faded inn sign swinging gently on its hook, all seem further away now, smaller, as if the scaffold has lifted you not just above the ground, but above the rhythm of ordinary life. The boy speaks without looking at you. I seen for this year. His voice is flat, not cruel, not curious, just tired. You don't answer at first. You watch his hands instead. He's carving a small figure, a man with a square body, stubby arms, and a face scraped into the wood with short strokes. The knife shakes a little in his grip. You wonder how many of these he's made. Why do you come? You ask quietly. He shrugs. Nowhere else to be. They don't mind if I sit quiet. He turns the figure in his palm, examines the rough face, then starts on another. Sometimes I sell them, to those what come after. You glance toward the edge of the scaffold. To the family? No, he looks up at you now. His eyes are blue and too old for his face. To the watchers, they like to remember, or pretend they do. He cuts another line across the figure's back, a crude attempt at a tunic. The knife slips slightly, and he pulls his thumb away from a shallow nick. Blood wells up, small and bright. Neither of you says anything. The square below fills slowly. More boots on cobbles, more eyes craning upward. You can hear the cough of an old man, the click of hooves. Somewhere, a cart rattles over a stone. Somewhere else, a child laughs, then hushes. The boy wipes his thumb on his trousers. The oak came from Wishwood, he says. That's what they say. You've heard the name. Wishwood, where the trees are said to whisper at dusk, where birds fall silent, where things go in and never come back out the same. He nods toward the beams. It remembers. You glance again at the wood, and in that moment, you believe it. It does not simply stand, it looms, not proud, but patient, like it's seen generations pass. Farmers, bakers, thieves, queens, all come and gone beneath its weight, like it knows how this story ends, and is tired of waiting for the telling. The boy puts the new figure in his pocket and starts carving another. Do you know who it is today? You ask. He nods. Midwife, name's Ellen. Do you know what she did? Another shrug, something they didn't like. And that is answer enough. The wind picks up, and the rope above you stirs. It creaks against the beam, slow and sorrowful, like a rocking cradle in a motherless room. You watch it sway, left-right, still, a pendulum counting down the moments, not toward justice, toward tradition. The boy leans back on his elbows. She'll come soon. You stay seated, side by side, surrounded by silence and soft whittling sounds. Below, the town breathes in. Above, the sky remains blank and grey, and the wood beneath you waits. The tide of bodies thickens. What began as a hush has swelled into a murmur, the kind that lives between unease and expectation. Boots scuff over broken cobbles, skirts brush puddles of melting frost. The square, once empty and echoing, fills with life and something colder. You feel it in your fingers, numbing despite the press of the crowd, in your breath which fogs against the collar of your cloak, in the way eyes flick toward the scaffold, but never linger. Not for long. The noise is strange, not loud exactly, but dense. Layers of sound, piled like old wool. A mother hushing her child with honeyed bread. A merchant barking the price of roasted chestnuts. A man preaching softly. In the corner about God's judgment and the devil's door. Somewhere iron clinks guards reshuffling in their posts, and somewhere else a dog snarls over a stolen scrap. You stay near the edge, shoulder against a crumbling wall. You could leave, but you don't. Around you, the world keeps shifting. A woman in furs tucks a silver flask into her belt and lights a pipe of dried lavender. A shoemaker dabs wine behind his ears. A peddler eyes, sharp as thorns, peddles, trinkets wrapped in linen, charms for protection, coins to throw at the condemned. You see him hand a tiny wooden figurine to a weeping girl, the same shape as the boy carved. The wind picks up, it curls around the square like a ghost, lifting cloaks and stirring loose hair. You hear someone curse the cold, though it's not the temperature that freezes your blood. It's the waiting, the knowing, the terrible stillness that lives between the drumbeat and the cry. A blind woman stands beside you. Her cheeks are hollow, her fingers twitching over a beaded rosary. Her eyes are pale, like milk left too long. She tilts her head and smiles. "I can hear the sky," she says. You say nothing. She nods toward the scaffold. They scream in color. You know, some red, some violet, some white, like linen before it stains. Still, you say nothing, and she smiles again, soft and far away. Near the bread cart, laughter breaks out. Sudden, jarring, two boys chasing each other, their boots smacking stone. One tumbles, gets up, laughs again. Their father grabs them both by the collars and yanks them back. "Not here," he growls, but you can see the fear in his eyes. The same fear you feel in your chest, buried beneath curiosity, beneath resolve, beneath the thing that made you stay. You can taste it now. Not fear exactly, something sharper. Anticipation laced with guilt, like hunger that knows it shouldn't exist. And then he arrives. The crowd doesn't fall silent. Not quite, but something ripples through it. A hush that rolls like fog, thick and sudden. The people shift, turn, pull back slightly to make a path. You follow their eyes. He is tall, not in stature, but in presence. A shape in black, hooded, cloaked, hands bare. They hang at his sides, pale and chapped, knuckles bruised from cold or habit. He walks slowly, purposefully, no flinch, no flourish. The executioner, children clutch mothers, men straighten their shoulders. A merchant crosses himself behind his stall of apples and dried meat. The priest steps aside without a word. He walks with the weight of memory, like he's carried it too long and too well. His boots leave no sound on the stone, or maybe your ears have stopped hearing. He reaches the scaffold, pauses, lays one hand against the beam. Just for a moment, you see his fingers twitch. Once dot, then he climbs. The crowd inhales. The square shrinks. The world narrows to a platform and a figure and a noose. He stands at the top, facing away. His hood remains on. His hands flex. They are not shaking from cold. You look at the people around you. Some stare openly, some avert their eyes. Some, a young couple, a brewer with his apron still damp, a girl with a broken shoe with the same expression. Not cruelty, not justice, but something in between. As if they know this must be done, as if they need it to be. Did you see his eyes? Someone whispers behind you. I heard he was a soldier once. Another says, fought at Bannockburn. Or maybe he's foreign. They say he never speaks. Someone else adds, they say he speaks to the dead. You don't turn around. You watch his hands instead. White-knuckled, still. You wonder who he was before, if he was ever a father, a son, a brother, if he ever laughed in the sun, if he ever loved. The blind woman beside you turns her head toward the scaffold. He smells like copper, she murmurs, and frost. From the alleyway, a bell rings once. The crowd draws tighter. The rope sways gently, and still he waits, not for orders, not for time, for her, you, all of you. Because this is not a task, it is a ritual. She does not arrive with a struggle. There are no shackles clanging, no screams echoing through the square. No one drags her feet or binds her mouth. She walks, and that, somehow, is worse. You don't see her at first. The crowd shifts, parts, turns its collective face like a field of sunflowers to follow a rising sun. But this sun brings no warmth, just silence. Then you see her. She is small, thin, not with youth, but with withering, as if her life has been wrung out slowly over years of labor and cold. Her hair is gone, sheared close to the scalp in uneven tufts. Her shift is plain linen, the kind worn by the sick or the soon-to-die, bare feet against the stones. She limps slightly, her weight uneven. The toes of one foot are red, raw, cracked, but it's her eyes that catch you, not wide, not wild, but searching. She scans the crowd, gaze darting like a swallow over a winter lake, fast, fragile, precise. She is not looking for escape. She is looking for someone. You wonder, for a moment, if it's you. The priest walks behind her, muttering Latin, low and rhythmic, like a lullaby sung to the soul. He holds a small cross in one hand and a vial in the other. Holy oil, for the condemned, not the saved. His voice is the only sound, now smooth and unbroken, a practiced river of absolution. A guard walks beside her. He does not touch her. He doesn't need to. There's nowhere to run. The people lean forward. Some whisper, some don't. A few murmur her name, Ellen, like a spell or a curse. Others speak the word midwife with a twist in their tone, like it means something else. One woman beside you snorts, arms crossed. She lost the baby. They say she meant to. Another scoffs. They say all sorts. Witch, murderer, snake blood. You don't speak, you just watch. Ellen ascends the stairs slowly. One hand grazes the railing as she climbs, fingertips trailing over the tar-stained wood. The platform seems taller now, more like a stage than a scaffold. The priest follows her up, then stands back. The executioner does not move. She turns to face the crowd. The rope swings to her left, like a question waiting for its answer. From here, she looks like a girl playing dress-up in her mother's old clothes, too young, too thin, too human. Her chin is high, her lips tight, her body still. The only thing that trembles is her left hand, twitching softly at her side, like a leaf in a windless room. A child cries, in the crowd, loud, shrill, sudden. Ellen flinches, just once, and that's when it happens. Her composure, held so tightly, breaks. Not in sobs, not in screams, in tears that don't fall. Her face tightens, not in fear, but in grief, as if that one infant's cry reached deep into her chest and pulled loose a memory too painful to hold. You realize, with a cold that cuts through your bones, that she has heard that sound before, perhaps many times, in homes with smoke-darkened ceilings, in huts filled with afterbirth and prayer, in winters when breath fogged over dying infants and mothers, bled out into straw beds. She is not afraid to die. She is afraid that no one will understand what she gave. A man in the crowd yells something crude, sharp. A guard snaps his gaze toward him, but no one moves. The priest continues his prayer, words floating uselessly in the air. The executioner steps forward at last. He does not look at her. He looks at the rope, then at the platform, then down. He adjusts the knot. Ellen sways slightly, and then she does something no one expects. She canes. No one commands her. No signal is given. But she lowers herself, hands resting on her thighs, eyes closed. You hear a gasp. Somewhere behind you, a woman begins to cry. The blind woman near you whispers. She is seeing it now. The door. The priest stops praying. The square is silent, and in that silence, the wind shifts. It carries with it the sharp cry of a baby. High, clear, alive. Ellen's eyes snap open. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes. Only her shoulders shake. Once, twice, she weeps, not for herself, but for the sound of a child, who still has a future. You imagine the child in the crowd, swaddled, warm, innocent, a child that might grow old, or fall sick, or forget the day they were carried to an execution without knowing. A child that might one day whisper a name they never understood. Ellen does not sob. She simply lowers her head. The rope sways. The priest murmurs again. The executioner steps back, and the crowd waits. Words arrive before justice. Long, heavy words spoken in a tongue no longer understood by most of the gathered. Latin, brittle and ceremonial, like the old bones of Rome carried across time. It spills from the judge's mouth in dry ribbons, each syllable unfurling like parchment dropped from a tower. You do not need to know the meaning. The tone is enough. It is not a plea, not a debate. It is a sentence already sealed in wax. The judge stands above the crowd, not upon the scaffold, but behind a raised dais of weathered oak, carved with lions and lilies. His robes are red wool, lined with sable and cinched with gold braid that glints beneath the heavy clouds. His collar is stiff, his mouth tighter. He does not glance toward Ellen. To him, she is no longer a person. She is a point in a ledger, a blot, an inconvenience soon to be resolved. The clerk beside him dips his quill and scribbles every phrase, every detail, into a massive tome. His hand shakes, staining the margin with a splatter of ink. His fingers are blackened with it, nails bitten down to the quick. He is young, younger than Ellen, and his eyes flick nervously between his parchment and the woman on the scaffold. You watch him. You wonder if he'll remember this moment in his sleep, if he'll wake in the night with Latin ghosting off, his lips and tears he doesn't understand drying on his cheeks. The judge speaks on. He does not look at the girl. He does not look at the crowd. His voice is even distant, shaped by decades of formality. You hear the rhythm, even if you do not know the words. Theft, harm, malice, guilty. Words like bricks laid into the walls of a tomb. A group of merchants huddle together near the edge of the square. One whispers, she delivered my sisters. Twins last spring, another grunts, I both lived. You'd think that it'd count for something. The third just shrugs. Not if the Baron wanted her gone. The judge's words fall like snow, slow, quiet, weightless. Until they bury you, Ellen does not flinch. She stands now, again, though her knees wobble like reeds in wind. Her arms hang at her sides. Her shift stirs slightly in the breeze, still damp with frost near the hem. Her eyes remain forward, fixed, on nothing, or perhaps something far beyond the scaffold. A memory, a face, a field in bloom. You do not know, but then her lips begin to move. Not wide, not loud, just barely. You lean in, she is mouthing something, not a prayer, not scripture, a rhyme, you know it. All children in this town do. Blackbirds sing on the gallows tree. Drop a feather down to me. If it's black, I'll run away. If it's white, I'm meant to stay. Over and over, her lips trace the rhyme. Her voice never rises. She does not sing, she recites. Like a child rocking herself to sleep through a thunderstorm. The judge's voice falters, just once. Only you seem to notice. The clerk stares at her now, ink drying on the tip of his quill. His lips move too, unconsciously repeating the rhyme. In silence, in the crowd, others have begun to recognize it. Murmurs ripple like ripples through dark water. Some smile bitterly, some turn away. A few whisper the rhyme under their breath. Not mockery, memory, dot above the scaffold. A black bird perches on the beam. You don't know when it arrived. It watches Ellen, and she, perhaps, sees it too. The judge clears his throat. The sentence has been given. The rope awaits, the clerk's. Quill snaps in his hand. He presses the broken tip to the page, finishing his line with a smear. No one applauds. No one cheers. This is not theatre, but it might be ritual. You watch as Ellen turns her head slightly toward the judge. She does not plead. She does not beg. She does not bow. She just looks at him, and for the briefest moment, the space between two heartbeats, you see the flicker in the judge's eyes. Not doubt, not regret. Recognition. He looks away. The priest steps forward with his vial. The crowd shifts, coughs, breathes. The moment passes. The blackbird spreads its wings, silent, and the rhyme dies in her mouth. The blade is not what you expect. It is not polished. It does not gleam. It does not shine like silver in some tale told to children who have never stood where you stand. It is thick, dull-colored steel, worn smooth in places by the same hands that have held it for years. The edge, however, is not dulled. It is sharp. So sharp, in fact, that it makes no sound when it moves. Even air, it seems, does not dare resist it. The executioner lifts the sword from its place beside the platform. His hands, those pale, cracked hands, wrap around the hilt like old friends. He tilts it once in the morning light, testing the balance, and then again. It moves without effort, like a sigh made of iron. You've heard the stories, whispered, in alehouses and by firesides, that this sword has taken 70 lives and has never needed sharpening, that it was forged by monks on the coast, bathed in the tide of a blood moon, that it is cursed, or perhaps blessed, to never falter. He whispers to it. You see his lips move. You do not hear the words. Ellen watches him, not the crowd, not the priest, not the rope, him. As if she's trying to understand him, to peer behind the hood and the silence, and find a man instead of a mirth. But his hood remains low, casting his face in shadow. He does not return her gaze. He never does. The priest steps forward once more, holding the oil and the cross. His voice wavers now, just slightly. He recites the rite in Latin, flicking oil into the air in a slow circle. The scent is sharp, olive and myrrh, bitter and old. Ellen stands tall. She has stopped trembling. Her hands are still. She closes her eyes. The crowd seems to lean forward all at once, like wheat drawn toward the sky. Even the dogs are quiet. The merchants no longer whisper. Somewhere behind you, a coin drops to the stone, a soft ringing, chime that seems louder than thunder. You take a breath, but it doesn't fill your lungs. You see the executioner's jaw tighten beneath the cloth. You step closer. The platform feels like a cathedral now, not in structure, but in silence. A silence so complete, it hums. He moves, one step forward. His boots make no sound. He lifts the sword. It is not raised high. There is no show, no spectacle, only purpose. Ellen bows her head, not in submission, but in choice. You notice her lips move once more. But this time, it is not the rhyme, it is a name. You don't hear it, you only feel it, like a ripple through the stillness. The sun breaks through the clouds, not bright, but golden, softened by the grey, spilling onto the platform like a benediction. The sword catches the light, and for a heartbeat, it shines. A warmth brushes your face, strange, out of place. Ellen's face lifts just a fraction, as if she feels it too. You see her mouth part, the blade begins to fall, not fast, not slow, just enough, and still she does not move. The crowd does not breathe. You hear nothing now, not the priest, not the guards, not your own heartbeat, only the air. Split open and then dash nothing. There is a silence after death that the world does not know how to carry. It hangs heavier than any scream, thicker than the crowd that stands around you. You would have expected a cry from her, from someone, but none came. There was no shriek, no resistance, not even a final plea. Only the whisper of steel parting the air, and then ... a thud, low, dull, unmistakable. It was the sound of something sacred being returned to the earth. Ellen's body slumps forward, folds in upon itself. The shift slips from one shoulder, as if reaching back toward modesty. Her knees buckle, and for the first time in what feels like hours, gravity speaks. She falls, not like a sack of grain, but like someone who once loved the wind. Her cheek meets the platform with a soft knock, the kind that haunts. The sword is withdrawn without flourish. No gesture, no words. The executioner steps back. The priest crosses himself. His hand moves automatically, without emotion. The words he murmurs are known to you. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But they feel too thin now, too rehearsed. They pass through. The air like breath in cold fog, briefly visible, quickly gone. You look toward the crowd. Some flinch, some turn away, but others, many others, do not. A woman, middle-aged, dressed in fine wool, dabs her eyes with a lavender-scented kerchief, but not from grief. A baker's apprentice leans forward, fascinated, mouth slightly agape. A boy no more than 7 tugs on his mother's sleeve. "Is she sleeping?" he asks. The mother does not answer, only tightens her grip and whispers, "Be still, father." Back, laughter bubbles out of a group of men sharing a wineskin. Not cruel laughter, nervous, uncertain. The laughter of those who fear stillness more than they fear violence. And somewhere near the bread stall, A woman vomits into the straw. The blackbird is gone. You do not know when it left. You try to feel something, horror, pity, sorrow. But what settles into your bones is quieter than that. It is not a single emotion. It is the dull ache of witnessing something irreversible, the kind of knowing that reshapes the room it lives in. You can't forget what you've seen. You're not even sure you should. The clerk closes his ledger. With a soft snap, the sound is almost disrespectful, like the ending of a story told too fast. The executioner steps off the platform. He moves slowly, each footfall echoing in your chest. He carries the blade beneath his arm now, cradled not like a weapon, but like something tired, something that's done too much. He does not clean it. He does not look back. A breeze passes through the square. It stirs the hem of Ellen's shift. It lifts the blood from the platform in delicate threads, like ink in water. The sunlight is already retreating. The clouds return, low and shapeless, drawing a grey veil over the scene. Winter pressing its hand once more upon the morning. You catch the scent of roasted nuts again, sweet, earthy. Someone is eating. You step back from the edge of the platform. Others do the same. The square, so tightly packed a moment ago, begins to unravel. A merchant rearranges her wares. A child drops a toy and runs off. The rhythm of the market stirs to life again, quietly, cautiously, as if nothing had happened at all, and perhaps, to many, it hadn't. A few stay behind. A woman with a shawl wrapped high over her face whispers a prayer and places something at the foot of the stairs, a sprig of rosemary and a coin. The guards begin to form a line. They do not speak. Their presence signals the time has passed. The show is over. Justice or its shadow has been served. You look again at Ellen's body. Her face is turned away now. Her hair, what little of it remains, flutters, faintly in the breeze. She was real, she was alive, and now she is not. That fact does not change the world. It does not break the sky or silence. The bells. Life continues. You hear someone complaining about the price of barley. Someone else shouts about a lost shoe. You pass a stall where a butcher is sharpening his cleaver, the same rhythm as always. The crowd disperses, the square empties, and the scaffold, still slick with memory, remains. It does not weep. It does not bow. It simply waits. They don't bury her right away. The body remains for hours, exposed beneath the weak sun, as if even the dead must endure the gaze of the town a while longer. The guards linger at the edge of the square, boots, muddied faces unreadable. The priest has gone. So to the judge, the clerk, and the sword. The crowd has thinned to almost nothing. Just a few stragglers remain, a peddler packing up charms that didn't sell, an old man gnawing on bread with more gum than teeth. And you, and him. You notice him only after the silence has settled in full, when even the pigeons have stopped circling, when the wind has retreated behind the stone corners of the alleyways. He moves without hurry, without shame, with a rhythm that feels practiced. He is bent at the waist, a bundle of rags wrapped around a crooked frame. His beard is long and grey, streaked with soot, and a black crow rides on his shoulder like a sentinel. He carries a basket, empty, for now. You watch him ascend the scaffold. No one stops him, no one calls out. The guards look away. He hums as he works. A tune so old it feels like it came from the soil. He begins with the straw. Clumps of it are stained red where her blood soaked through, darkening the fibers into something almost black. He gathers it delicately, like one would gather feathers, whispering to himself with each handful. You step closer. He does not notice, or perhaps he does, and chooses not to show it. At the edge of the scaffold, you speak. What are you doing? He glances at you, but only briefly. She shouldn't be. Left to the crows, he says. Not yet. His voice is gravel, worn smooth by time and smoke. The crow cocks its head and caws once, sharp and shrill. He bends again, picks up a tuft of hair, fine, copper blonde, tangled with straw. This was hers, he says softly. It still remembers her. You watch as he adds it to the basket, then wipes his fingers on the edge of his cloak. The fabric is patched with pieces of old tabards, old flags, and what looks like priests' vestments stitched together into a strange mosaic of forgotten things. He moves with reverence, not ceremony, reverence. He takes a broken sandal, Ellen's still damp with dew and blood. He wraps it in a piece of cloth. You see his lips moving, shaping a rhyme or a prayer or both. Do you do this every time? You ask. He nods. They leave something behind, always, bits and pieces, straw and hair, sweat and pain. He picks up a scrap of linen torn from her shift, folds it carefully. These things carry weight. You can't leave weight lying around. It sinks into the stone. He finishes his gathering, lifts the basket with effort. It looks too heavy for what it contains. As he descends the stairs, you follow. He walks with a limp, slow and dragging, but his direction is certain. Through the side alley, past the smithy's door, down behind the tannery where the smoke is thick and the walls are coated in old salt. At the end of the lane, he stops. A shrine stands before him, if you can call it that. A patch of wall covered in nails and ribbons, trinkets and feathers, bones and beads, charms made of string and wax, scraps of names, one candle barely flickering. He opens a wooden box tucked beneath the shrine. Inside, more remnants, labeled, stacked, bundled in silence. I keep what they leave, he says, placing Ellen's things inside, until the forgetting comes. You kneel beside him. You don't know why, only that your knees bend without thinking. Does it help? You ask. He doesn't answer immediately. The crow ruffles its wings. It keeps them from being nothing. He says, some get stone, some get stories. The rest get this. He pulls from his coat a small scrap of parchment. He writes her name with a coal nub. Ellen, that's all. Just her name. He nails it to the wall. I've seen them in dreams. He whispers, his voice fraying like old cloth. The ones no one remembers. They knock, they whisper. They walk the square at night, barefoot and unfinished. You believe him. He lights the candle again. Its flame stutters, catches, holds. Do you pray? You ask. He smiles without teeth. I remember, he replies. That's enough. You look at the wall. Dozens of names. Some clear, others faded to near nothing. One says, simply girl with braid. Another reads, he laughed. Each name a weight lifted, each relic a mercy. He gathers his basket again, turns back toward the square, toward the next name, the next weight. The crow caws once, then settles again. You stay by the shrine, you touch the parchment, and in that moment, the air seems lighter, the silence less sharp. The hill greets you with the silence of cold ash. No birds sing here, no beasts stir, only the wind walks. and even it does so lightly, careful not to wake the ghosts beneath the roots. You arrived before first light, guided by whispers and the smoke-stained breath of the baker's boy who said, "If you want to see fire eat a soul, go to Raven's Rise." He said it like a joke, but his eyes didn't smile. The path winds between hedgerows, choked with frost, the bramble brittle underfoot. You feel the chill settle deeper here, not just in your hands, but in your marrow, where old things live. The air has the bite of iron. You smell pitch, and something else, something sweeter. Herbs, perhaps. Burned rosemary, thyme, lavender. Not for fragrance, but for absolution. At the top of the hill stands the stake. It is a crooked thing, tall and bound with iron rings. Its base is surrounded by brushwood piled in deliberate care. Each bundle stacked like prayer beads, precise, intentional. The wood is dry. Ready, a woman stands bound against it. She is silent, no tears, no screams, just silence. Her hair is long, unbraided, black as soot. Her arms are lashed behind her back, and her chin tilts up with a defiance that defies the frost. Her eyes find you in the crowd, and they hold, not pleading, not accusatory, simply present, seeing as if memorizing every face that dares to. Watch her die. You don't look away. Someone near you whispers, "Heretic." Another hisses, but their voices are small, like mice trying to growl. They don't believe their own words, not fully. A man behind you mutters, "She used to sing in the market." And suddenly the memory breaks through the mist. A voice lilting through the square, rising over apples and cheese wheels and spice baskets. A song about swallows in the chimney. A song about the sea. You remember it now, and she remembers. A friar steps forward. His cowl is pulled low, but his mouth moves with certainty. He recites the rites, speaks of repentance, of eternal consequence, of the soul's flight. She says nothing. His voice shakes as he lifts the crucifix toward her. A bead of sweat breaks on his brow, though the morning is cold. The fire is lit at it. Begins small, always. It begins small. A whisper of flame licking at the dry twigs, curling into itself like a child in sleep. The wind does not interfere. It holds its breath, just as the people do. The first crackle of the wood sounds like laughter or weeping. You brace yourself for the scream, but it does not come. She does not give it. The flame spreads. It climbs the kindling, touches the hem of her gown, begins to devour. Still she does not scream, only breathes, deep, slow. Her eyes remain open. You feel your hands tremble. The crowd presses closer. Some cross themselves. Some shield their children's eyes far too late. A man sobs softly into his sleeve. Another turns his face, but cannot make his feet move. The smoke thickens, sweet with herb and hair and old cloth. It wraps around the stake like morning veils spun in haste. The fire roars, now fed by its hunger. You hear the hiss of sap bursting in the wood, the moan of the brush as it collapses. And then, finally, she cries out, but it is not pain. It is a song. Her voice breaks through the fire, clear, defiant. You recognize the melody, the same one. She sang among cabbages and cabbages. Her voice wavers, but it carries through the ash, through the heat, through the horror. It is beautiful. It is unbearable. The guards shift uneasily. The friar lowers his cross. The crowd watches, rapt, undone. She sings until the fire climbs past her throat. Then silence. A great exhale passes through the gathered. The flames take the rest. When it is over, nothing is left but smoke and ember and the stench of burned hope. The stake leans slightly now, blackened and shivering in the wind. The ropes are gone, the woman is gone, but the sound of her voice, that song, it lingers. You taste it in your teeth, you feel it in your chest. The friar collects his robes and departs. The crowd scatters slowly, like leaves disturbed by a passing cart. You remain, you step forward. A single feather floats in the ash, small, white, unburned. It rests at your feet. Weightless, you kneel and pick it up. The wind resumes its wandering, but the hill does not forget. The town you enter now is smaller than the last narrower streets, sharper air, the kind that carries secrets between rafters and shutters. The frost here bites deeper, clings longer. Smoke spills from low chimneys in thin trails, but no warmth follows. Windows are shuttered, doors bolted, as if the town itself does not wish to witness what lives inside it. At the far end of the square stands the gallows. It is old, older than anything else around it. The wood is blackened, not from paint, but from weather, from smoke, from time. It leans slightly, as if the earth is tired of holding it. The rope is frayed near the knot. It does not sway. It waits. No one gathers here today. No sentence has been declared. But still, something draws you toward it. A man sits beneath the gallows, wrapped in layers of tattered cloth, his boots worn flat from pacing the same stretch of stone. His hair is white, his beard long, yellowed at the chin. In his lap is a tin cup of weak ale, and beside him a bowl of salted peas gone cold in the sunless wind. He sees you before you speak. They sing sometimes. He says, you pause. Who? He doesn't look at you. The ones who know they're going to die, the night before, on the way up. Sometimes even as the ropes around their neck. You glance at the gallows. Its shadow cuts across the square like a sundial that never moves. They sing. You ask, he nods, slow. Lullabies, hymns. A bit of nonsense now and then. One lad recited the names of every dog he ever had. One woman sang to her mother like she was a child again. He lifts his ale and sips without joy. I call it the gallows choir. You sit beside him. The wood of the platform above you groans in the wind, though the breeze is weak. A crow perches on the crossbeam. It watches you both with eyes like wet coal. Do you remember all of them? You ask. He smiles. Barely, only the songs. He hums one, low, broken, but soft. You can't place the melody, though it feels familiar. Like something your grandmother might have hummed while mending a shirt. Like something heard from a cradle, half asleep. Was it always like this? You ask. He shrugs. Sometimes worse. You let the silence settle. He continues, his voice like pages turned in a damp room. It's the ones who go quiet that haunt me. The ones who can't sing, who can't even cry. You look at the noose. The knot is still tight. A faded flower is tied near the base of the post, dry, crumbling, left long ago. Why do you stay, you ask? He chuckles, once, dry, because someone has to listen. You watch him run a hand over the stone step. There are markings carved there, initials, dates, prayers, some shallow, others deep. Some scratched in with nails, some with teeth. He runs his fingers over one. This one, he murmurs. She sang about the river, said it would take her somewhere better. He points to another. This boy asked to kiss the sky. never got the chance. Then another. He didn't speak, just looked up and smiled, like he saw someone waiting. The wind sharpens. You pull your cloak tighter. Still, you stay. Do they always die? You ask. The man's face stiffens. Always. No, not always. You wait. Sometimes, he says, the rope breaks, or a horse stumbles, or a judge blinks. But the songs are the same. He looks at you then, really looks. Eyes pale and raw. You hear them if you stay long enough. Even when the square is empty, even when the wood is dry. He leans back against the post. Sometimes, he whispers, they still sing. You hear it too, then, faint. So faint. You think it might be the wind, but it carries a note, a hum, a voice without a body, without breath. It drifts between the stones. You close your eyes. You imagine the condemned, one by one, lifting their voices against the silence. Not to be saved, not to be heard, just to fill the void with something that was theirs, a song, a name, a last note. The man finishes his ale and sets the cup down. Come back tomorrow, he says. There's always another verse. You rise, slowly. The gallows creaks once. The crow lifts its wings, but does not leave. As you walk away, the song stays with you. The frost hasn't melted in this part of the wood. The trees here are narrow, tall, their bark pale as bone. Wind slips between them like whispered guilt, and the snow crunches beneath your boots. Thin but stubborn, unwilling to melt, unwilling to forget. You follow a path that does not show itself. Not clearly, just the faintest suggestion of steps pressed into the underbrush, a trail worn by someone who walks it often, but without wanting to be followed. Eventually, you see her. She kneels by the edge of a frozen stream, hands red with cold, plucking herbs from the brittle soil. Her cloak is faded grey, too thin for the season, patched at the elbows. Her hair is tucked under a kerchief, a few dark strands escaping like thoughts never spoken. She doesn't look up. You watch her fingers, gentle, careful as they loosen the roots of valerian, draw it from the dirt. Shake off the ice, she places it in a cloth satchel at her side. You take one step closer. Only then does she speak. Careful. Where you walk, the stream's thin. Looks like ground, but it'll pull you in. Her voice is low, quiet, not wary, not welcoming. You kneel across from her, keeping your weight balanced. Are you a healer? You ask. She smiles. It doesn't reach her eyes, only when I'm allowed. A pause. Then, as if she knows the question before you ask it. Yes. My father is the one who ends them. The stream beneath you groans, ice shifting beneath pressure. She doesn't flinch. I try to mend what he can't. She begins sorting the herbs in her lap, laying them on a cloth. Valerian, angelica root, a bundle of dried willow bark tied with red string. She lines them up like soldiers preparing for something they won't survive. You don't speak. You let the silence stretch between you, a bridge built slowly. Finally, she says, they come to me before the day, sometimes a week before, sometimes hours. She folds the cloth over the roots. Men, women, doesn't matter what they've done. She tucks the parcel into her satchel. They want to be heard, not saved. They know the rope waits. They just don't want to meet it alone. She pulls another root from the snow. A man came once, she continues, who'd killed 3 people. His eyes were black from crying, like bruises. He brought me a thimble and said it was his mother's. Asked me to keep it. I still do. You watch her as she brushes snow from the stems. Do you hate what your father does? You ask. She pauses. Her hands stop moving. No, she says softly. I pity him. The wind rustles the dry branches above you. A flock of sparrows bursts from the trees like startled breath. He doesn't sleep, she says. Hasn't in years. He used to tell me stories at night. Now he just sharpens the blade. She looks up at you then. Her eyes are brown, warm but distant. They think the executioner is the hand of justice. But he's just a man who's learned not to weep in public. She leans back, stretching her arms. I see the ones he kills. I see them when they're still people, when they talk about their sisters, their chickens, the joke they told last week, and I give them tea and ask about their dreams. She shrugs. That's all. That's the mercy I offer. You sit with her for a long time. The stream groans again. I don't want their forgiveness, she says finally. Only their truth. She reaches into her satchel and pulls something small, a carved wooden charm painted faintly with blue flowers. She presses it into your hand. For the road, she says. It keeps silence, gentle. You look down at it. It's warm from her palm. What do you want for it, you ask. She shakes her head. Nothing, just remember her name. Who's the girl they took last week? Ellen. Your throat tightens. She was here. You. Whisper, she nods. She held my hand all night. You close your fingers around the charm. Did she cry? You ask. The woman looks at the stream, at the brittle light. No, she says. She hummed a little song about swallows. You both sit in silence. The wind is softer now. You rise. She does not. You leave her there, kneeling by the stream, gathering what little peace the earth still offers. You carry her charm in your pocket and Ellen's name in your chest. Night arrives like a breath held too long, the kind of dark that does not blink, that spills from trees and wells and doorframes without shape or mercy. You walk a path that doesn't exist on any map, guided by the flicker of a lantern carried far ahead, a slow bobbing star through the forest's ribs. This is not the square. This is not a crowd. This is not justice as the town speaks it. This is something quieter, something colder. You've been told of these woods, where justice is bought, not performed, where noblemen with secrets and silver arrange for silence to be sown into the soil. The trees know. Their limbs hang low, heavy with memory. Moss grows thick at their bases, softening every footfall, as though the earth itself does not wish to wake. The lantern stops. You stop, too. Ahead, a clearing opens like an exhale. No scaffold here, no rope, no sword, just a hole in the ground, and two men. One kneels. His hands are tied behind his back with silk rope, not hemp, not chain. His cloak is rich velvet, though stained at the collar. A sash once worn in court trails in the mud behind him. His eyes are blindfolded. His breath fogs the cold air. He does not beg. The other man, taller, broader, faceless in the dark, stands behind him, blade in hand. Not a sword of iron, a dagger. Short, curved, the kind meant to end, not to punish. The lantern is set down. No words are spoken. Not yet. You hide behind the trees. You shouldn't watch this, but you do. The kneeling man lifts his chin. I thought I would feel more, he says. The one behind him says nothing. The noble continues. Regret, perhaps, or pride, or anything. He swallows, but mostly, I feel, tired. He lets out a long breath. Will it be fast? Silence, then a nod. You don't see the man's face, but the shape of it turns slightly. Enough, thank you, the nobleman says. He bows his head. The blade flashes, not upward, not overhead, just forward, precise, practiced. A whisper of flesh, a twitch of muscle, a breath, then silence. The body slumps, folds slow, like a curtain drawn closed. The man behind wipes the blade on a cloth, tucks it away. He does not cry, he does not bless. He steps forward, takes the body beneath the arms, and lowers it into the shallow grave already dug. No marker, no name, only earth. You stay hidden, heart a drum in your chest. This is not ritual, not spectacle. This is forgetting. This is erasure. You emerge only after the lantern disappears down the path. After the gravedigger, if that's what he is, has gone. You approach the hole. The earth is loose, already disturbed. Waiting for your hand, you kneel, touch the dirt, still warm, still breathing in its way. You close your eyes. You do not know his crimes. You do not know his name, but you remember his voice. Tired, it echoes through the woods even now, faint and frayed. You cover the grave with your hands, fistfuls of soil. Slowly, no shovel, no stone. Only this, you whisper nothing, only breathe. Let the wind carry the sound. Behind you, a fox passes quiet. Watching the trees seem to lean closer. You press your palm flat over the earth. You don't ask for forgiveness. You don't offer it. But you remain, and so does he. The square is not empty, nor is it full. It breathes now softer than before, its crowds smaller, but still drawn by the rhythm of routine. Another morning, another sentencing, another life soon to be measured and undone. But something is different today. Color, you see it before anything else. A smear of red, a splash of yellow, a shimmer of blue, too vivid for these grey stones. It dances near the base of the scaffold, swirling like spilled wine, like spilled blood. Then you see the man beneath the color, the jester. His coat is a patchwork of faded velvet and moth-bitten lace. His hat, once tall and proud, droops like a flower left too long in the sun. Bells dangle from its edges, but they do not ring. His shoes curl upward at the toes. One has a hole at the side, and through it a toe wrapped in twine. He spins once, twice, then bows deep and slow. Arms wide, no one claps. Not yet. The crowd is uncertain. He begins to juggle bones, not wooden ones, not toys, real ones. You see the color of them, the length, a femur, a radius, a child's rib. Painted now in gold, some lacquered in crude floral patterns, others marked with names you can't read. Welcome, welcome, he calls, voice cracked but clear, to the greatest stage in all the kingdom, where truth is blindfolded and justice wears shoes too tight. A few in the crowd laugh, too loudly, too quickly. He juggles faster. The bones clack mid-air. He lets them drop. Each lands with a thunk. Then silence. He points to the scaffold. Up there, kings become corpses, and beggars become quiet. All debts are paid in full, with interest. More laughter now. He walks among them, his gait a mockery of grace, knees bent, spine curved. He mimics a judge, a priest, a weeping widow. His voice shifts to high pitch, then gravello, a flickering chorus of remembered pain. A child giggles. A man crosses himself. He stops in front of you. His eyes meet yours. They are not mad, They are tired and ancient. "Do you like my bells?" he asks. You nod. He touches one, and it does not ring. "They used to sound," he whispers. Before they heard too much, he straightens. "My name is Bramble, but they call me Fool. I danced for a duke who lost his head. I sang for a bishop who poisoned his own wine. Now I perform for the rope." He lifts his arms, "because if we don't laugh, we'll scream, and if we scream, we might listen." The guards let him be. They've seen him before. He arrives before. The sentencing vanishes after. No one knows where he sleeps. Some say beneath the platform. Others say he never sleeps at all. A woman in the crowd calls, "Dance, fool." He does. His limbs flail with purpose. His feet tap rhythms that feel older than the square. The cobbles echo beneath him. His hat spins in his hand. He recites a rhyme. Hemp is the thread. Justice, the needle, stitching the guilty to heaven or hell. Someone claps. Then someone else. He bows again. The priest arrives. The crowd stills. Bramble steps aside. He crouches near the scaffold, one hand on the wood. As the condemned is led forth, a man with his face half-shaved, eyes swollen from sleep or sorrow, Bramble, watches with the stillness of a statue. You see his hands clench. He does not smile, he does not speak, only watches when the blade falls. For this town uses axe, not rope. Bramble does not flinch. When the crowd disperses, he remains. You approach him as the square empties. He turns toward you. He places a bone in your hand, a small one, carved with lines that might once have spelled a name. "A souvenir," he says, "for memory." He walks away, slow now, dragging one foot behind him. You watch him disappear down the alley behind the apothecary. The bone warms in your palm. Later, when you pass the scaffold, you find his hat there left on the step. The bells do not ring, and no one remembers him tomorrow today. You choose not to linger at the edges. You step into the crowd, not as an outsider, not as a witness caught between breaths, but as one of them, a soul among many, wrapped in wool and steam and expectation. Your feet find a place beside a woman selling roasted chestnuts. A man stands to your left, chewing a twist of salt pork. A young girl to your right holds her mother's hand, clutching a carved figurine in her other. The air is dense, not with smoke or snow, but with something more suffocating, hunger. Not for bread, not for warmth, but for the moment. You can feel it pressing at your back, crawling up your neck. Every face in the square is turned to the scaffold. Every breath seems borrowed. Every eye waits for the moment when breath will be taken from someone else. You listen, the murmurs, the whispers, the shifting of boots, the suck of snow melt underfoot. A cough, sharp, the clink of a coin changing hands, and beneath it all, the silence that builds like thunder just beyond hearing. The condemned is already on the platform. A man this time, middle-aged, gaunt, face purpled with bruises. His shirt is torn at the collar, exposing a shoulder thin as bone. You hear someone say he stole from the abbey. Another says he killed a watchman. A third mutters he spit on the bishop's boots. You don't know the truth. You don't care to ask. You simply watch. He shakes as the priest anoints his forehead, muttering familiar Latin rites. The executioner adjusts the rope. A boy beside you leans forward, squinting. A woman cranes her neck and frowns. You feel yourself leaning, too, wanting to see that the man opens his mouth to speak, but nothing comes. His lips tremble, His eyes sweep across the faces below, desperate, searching. You wonder who he's looking for. A brother, a wife, a child. Your eyes meet his for a breath, and then the trapdoor opens. There is no cry. Only the snap of the rope, the crack of bone. His body drops and jerks once. His foot twitches, then stillness. The crowd lets out a breath. It is not sorrow, it is satisfaction. You hear the woman beside you sigh. Quick today, she says. That's mercy. The girl clutches her carved doll tighter. The man with the salt pork finishes chewing and walks away, licking his fingers. And you stay. You stare, at the rope, at the man's boots, now still, at the faint mark where the beam groaned under his weight. You feel something rise in your throat, not grief, not horror, shame, because you watched. You leaned forward, you held your breath, waiting for the moment his body fell. You felt the hunger too, and now you feel the weight of it. You taste it like soot, like salt, like blood you didn't spill, but still wear. You turn away, pushing through the dispersing crowd. You walk past the stalls, the barrels, the dogs sniffing at crumbs. You hear laughter behind you, too loud, too sharp. You hear someone calling for cider, for bread. You reach a wall and lean your back against it, cold stone pressing through your cloak. You close your eyes, and he is still there, swinging. Still you remember his eyes, the way they locked on yours, the question in them, and the absence of an answer. Night falls, you don't remember. Walking home, you don't remember removing your boots. You lie in the straw, the fire guttering low beside you, and still he's there. Not in the square, not on the platform, but behind your eyes. That night, you do not sleep. You stare at the ceiling, and you feel them all. Ellen, the woman who sang as she burned, the silent man beneath the trees, the ones who screamed, the ones who I'd in single quotes. Their faces blur and blend and swell. They do not accuse. They simply remain. You try to close your eyes, but they do not let you forget. Not yet the shop is small, pressed between a bell tower and a butcher's yard, its doorway crooked like a tired spine. The sign above the lintel reads only wrath. No trade, no claim, just the name, faded by years of wind and soot. You step inside. The bell above the door doesn't ring. It's been stuffed with cloth. The air smells of varnish, damp wool, and something older, dust perhaps, or linseed oil left open too long. The light is strange here, golden and filtered, as though the outside world cannot quite find its way in. Every surface is crowded with canvases. Some stand on easels, some lean against walls, some are stacked on chairs. Not one of them is large. No landscapes, no lords in velvet or ladies in lace. Only faces, dozens of them, each turned slightly, each with eyes open, each caught in the last breath before silence. A woman with singed hair, her mouth half open in song. A man with rope burns at the neck, but peace in his eyes. A boy no more than 15, with tears on his cheeks and a faint smile. You walk slowly between them. They do not flinch, they do not blink, but they look at you, and they do not look away. A voice behind you speaks, quiet and dry. They only live. If someone remembers, you turn. The man who stands there is thin, stooped, his apron stained with pigments, ochre, rust, bone black. His fingers are long, smudged at the tips. His hair is white but not clean, his beard trimmed with careless scissors. He holds a brush in one hand, trembling slightly. Are they real, you ask? He nods. All of them, you gesture to the paintings. You were there, he shakes his head. I came after. He walks past you, gestures to a chair. You sit. He does not. They leave traces, in the air, in the blood, in the way a body falls. He turns toward one canvas, a man with clenched fists and a swollen eye. This one spat at the priest, Roth says. Said he'd rather die than be. Forgiven, he moves to another. A girl with braids undone, eyes red from weeping. She asked to see the moon. It was raining. I painted the moon anyway. You stand. Step closer to a portrait of a woman with singed cloth at her collar. Was she? He nods. She burned, but she sang first. You recognize the tilt of her mouth. It is not sorrow. It is defiance, wrapped in music. Why do you paint them, you ask? Roth walks to a small desk. He lifts a bundle of charcoal sketches, fast lines, wild strokes, the suggestion of limbs, of mouths open mid-cry, of eyes closed forever. He sets them down, because no one else will. He picks up a painting from the floor, unfinished. Just a face in rough shape. No color, no eyes. I paint what they were in their last moment. Not the verdict, not the crime, just them. He looks at you, and there is no softness in his gaze. They die in shame. I give them dignity. You nod. He moves toward a canvas turned to the wall. Slowly, he lifts it and turns it toward you, Ellen. You know her before the color even speaks. Her head is tilted slightly, her mouth parting to form a sound you cannot hear but remember. Her eyes are open, not wide, not afraid, just open, watching, asking you step closer. She didn't scream, you whisper. No, he replies. She wept. For a child she heard in the crowd. You touch the edge of the frame. She was a midwife, you say. Roth nods. I painted her in red and lavender, he says. Lavender for healing, red for what was taken. You study the brushstrokes. There is tenderness in them, and rage, not loud, not wild, but deep. Do you sell them, you ask? No. He turns away. To sell them would be to forget. You remain a while longer. He offers no more stories. The paintings speak enough when you leave. The bell still does not ring. Outside the air feels different, heavier, but not colder in your pocket. The charm the healer gave you presses against your hand. You whisper Ellen's name, and know it has not been lost. She stands alone in a field, where the thistles grow shoulder high, their purple heads bobbing beneath the breath of an indifferent wind. There is no marker here, no stone, just grass gone wild and the echo of wheels once turned by punishment. You find her by following the voice. It's not loud, not mournful. A melody so soft it blends with the rustle of weeds and the buzz of distant bees. Her back is to you, shoulders hunched in a woolen shawl, black frayed with years. Her hands are clasped in front of her, not in prayer, but in memory. You step into the clearing. She does not turn. You listen. Her song is not one you know. The words are old, older than the road, older than the gallows, and shaped by a dialect the wind itself has forgotten. But the feeling is clear, loss and longing when she stops. The silence feels like a bell's toll. I come here each week, she says, voice rasped by wind and winter. The crows know me now. You step closer. She holds a comb, small, wooden, missing 2 teeth. the kind a child might make for a mother, or a husband might carve with idle hands by the fire. She strokes it with her thumb. He made this the day before, she said it was nothing, but he tucked it in my hand when the guards came. She turns to you then. Her face is not young, but the grief in it is. Still raw, still green beneath the bark. Her eyes are pale, not from age, but from too much watching. They said he stole a wheel of cheese from the monastery. She laughs. Once, no joy in it. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. Neither had I, but they called it theft, called it defiance, called it an offense against the Lord's house. Her fingers close around the comb. They tied him to the wheel. You know the practice, the breaking wheel, bones shattered with iron bars, limbs wound through spokes, not to kill quickly, but to teach a lesson in pain. They made me watch, she said I was part of his sin, that a wife must learn the price of disobedience. She closes her eyes. I did not cry, not there, not then, but later, when the blood wouldn't wash from my dress. I wept until the seams gave out. You say nothing, you do not offer comfort. There is none to give. She kneels, lays the comb on the earth. It vanishes between the thistles. He planted peas here once, she says, before the drought, before the taxes, before we became hungry, in ways no prayer could ease. She lifts a stone, round, smooth, likely from the river, and sets it atop the grass. That's enough of a grave, she whispers. He'd laugh to see it. The wind stirs the shawl from her shoulders. Her blouse beneath is patched, mended so many times it barely holds a thread of its original self. You ask if I want justice, she says, eyes on the horizon. No. I want memory. Her voice softens. I want someone to know he had a laugh like a fox and the kindest hands in the village, that he could sing every verse of the green veil of home and always wept at the last line, that he carved spoons no one ever used because they were too beautiful to touch. She looks to you. Will you remember? You nod, you mean it. She stands again, slowly, her knees cracked, but she does not wince. Each week I sing, she says, so the earth won't forget the weight of him. You watch as she walks through the thistles, her path folding closed behind her. You remain, kneel Dot, place your hand on the stone. She left. It is warm from the sun. You close your eyes and whisper his name. You do not know it, but you whisper anyway, and the wind carries the sound. The monastery sits where the forest breaks, not by force, but by surrender. The trees seem to kneel as they near its walls, branches bent low, roots softened by quiet. The building is stone, thick and moss-veined, its windows narrow as slits in memory. A bell hangs from a timber beam, but it does not ring. It hasn't. In years, you pass through a wooden gate, half rotted, half frozen. No one stops you. A black dog watches you from the cloister garden, tail thumping once against the snow-laced flagstones. Inside, the air smells of parchment and tallow, and the dust floats thick and slow, like thoughts unspoken. You follow the scratching of quill on vellum, a rhythm steady as breath. A monk sits hunched at a long table, robes ink-stained and wax-spotted. He does not look up as you enter. His hand moves with care, tracing letters so small they look like whispers made visible. A candle burns low beside him, barely a flame. All around him, shelves rise like sentinels, heavy with books, scrolls, bundled parchments tied with fraying twine. Some bear names in fading ink, others are blank. Some are smudged beyond recognition, but they all feel heavy, as though they remember more than they can contain. You step closer. He speaks without turning. Do not touch the ledgers. They bruise easily. You nod, though he does not see. What is this place? You ask. He finishes his line before answering. A record of those the world forgets. He sets down the quill. Now he turns. His face is hollowed by time, but not cruel. His eyes are sharp, like candlelight behind stained glass. We keep their stories, he says, not for judgment, not for history books. For them, he gestures to the walls. The scaffold is a moment. We hold the before and the after. You look to the page he's just finished. The name is written in bold, black ink. Beneath it, the details are tender, the weight of a voice, the last words spoken, a lullaby half remembered. At the bottom, a sketch, not of the execution, of a child's drawing, a dog, perhaps, smiling. You trace the line with your eyes. Why the sketches, you ask? To remind us they were not only what they became. He rises. Come, you. Follow him through a narrow passage into another chamber. Here the light is softer. There are no candles, only a high window filtering daylight through frost. A long shelf runs the length of the room. Upon it, small boxes, dozens, hundreds, each labeled in ink, some with names, others with phrases. The girl who hummed, the one who kissed the air, the boy with the torn boots. He lifts one and opens it. Inside, a button, a lock of hair, a paper with smudged fingerprints, relics. He says, not holy, human. You watch as he places it back, gently. I copied a record once, he continues, of a child, 10 years old, hanged for poaching deer. You feel your breath catch. He nods. His name was Tom. He had a wooden flute carved from ash. Played it while he waited. He moves to the corner, pulls out a bound volume, frayed, water-stained, but whole. He opens it to a page marked with thread. There, in soft ink, a melody simple, trembling, like footsteps on snow. I play it sometimes, he says, in the chapel, so he's not forgotten. He closes the book. His hands are shaking. But some days, he whispers, I feel the forgetting growing, like moss on stone. You stand beside him in silence. Why do you keep going, you ask? He looks at you, and for a moment he is not a monk, just a man with too many names in his hands, because they didn't stop being real when they died. He turns away. You follow him back to the chamber of parchment. At his desk he lifts a fresh page, dips the quill. Name, he asks. You pause. Ellen. He nods. Tell me what you remember. You do. The scaffold, the wind, the baby's cry, the rope dot, the silence, and the song that wasn't sung, but lived in her eyes. He writes as you speak, not fast, not frantic, as though each word is a gift returned. When you finish, he sets down the quill, folds the page, slides it into a wooden drawer, marked midwives and mercy. You place your hand on the grain. It is warm. Dust motes swirl in the air. Between you, they feel like memories that chose to stay. Time moves on, as it always does, not with thunder or ceremony, but with small absences. A cart that no longer rolls. Past the baker's door. A name no longer muttered in the market. A platform of wood, once soaked in cries and blood, now rotted into nothing, swallowed by soil and seasons. You return to the village years later. The square is different, wider, perhaps cleaner. The cobbles have been relaid, their old cracks and stains buried beneath order. Children run where the scaffold once stood, chasing ribbons and laughing without fear. Someone has planted flowers, violets, soft and uncertain, in the place where the gallows post once rose, like a finger pointing toward sin. You stand, very still, and no one notices you. A woman passes with a basket of bread and does not flinch at the memory clinging to the air. A merchant hums to himself as he sets out apples where once a girl was led, eyes blindfolded. To her last breath, you walk through the town like a ghost no one sees Dot at the bakery. A young boy sells honey cakes, shaped like bells, for the spring festival, he says brightly. You buy one. It crumbles in your hand, sweet and soft. But wrong across the square, where the old wall once bore the proclamations of guilt and grace, there is only plaster now, fresh, white, untouched. You press, your palm to it cold. The tavern is louder than you remember. The hearth glows, and men drink deeply, arguing over rain and livestock and a road to be built near the river. You sit beside an old man peeling onions. His eyes water, but not from grief. Do you remember the scaffold? You ask. He furrows his brow. What scaffold? You describe it. The rope, the hooded man, the crowds. He laughs, uncertain. You must be thinking of another town that was never here. You excuse yourself outside. The snow has begun again, light, barely more than breath on stone. You follow your feet out of the square, past the mill, past the path where the executioner once walked at dawn, until you reach the slope that held the stake. Now it is just a hill, green, blank. You kneel, touch the ground. It does not feel hollow, but something hums beneath, like a string pulled taut beneath your fingers. A wind rises, sudden and sharp. It brings a sound, a wail. You turn, no one is there, only a cart creaking in the distance. You walk again, farther this time, to the town where the jester once danced. You remember his bells, his painted bones, his eyes too tired to be mad. There is no scaffold here either, no paint, no laughter, only a square freshly cobbled, lined with shops you do not recognize. A seamstress smiles at you, looking for something. You say, a man who juggled bones. She tilts her head. I don't think we've had any bone jugglers. You nod, walk on. The world forgets so easily. In a chapel, you find a woman lighting candles. She is bent with age, wrapped in grey wool, stitched at the elbows. Her hands tremble, but her flame is steady. You watch her set 3 candles in a row, then a 4th. You approach. Who are they for? You ask. She pauses, looks at the flames. I don't know, she says. My mother used to light them every Sunday, said it was for someone who was taken. She frowns. Or maybe someone who was lost. You ask her name, Agnes. You ask if she remembers a woman named Ellen. She thinks no, she says softly. But that name, it feels like winter, doesn't it? You nod and thank her as you leave. 1 candle gutters out, the others remain. You travel to the village where the monks kept their archives. The door is shut. The stone is cracked inside. The shelves are bare. Only the dust remains. You walk to where the ledger once lay open, ink glistening beneath candlelight. Now it is a table warped by rain and silence. In the corner, you find a single box, small dot, labeled in faded ink. The ones no one named. You open it, empty, outside. The bell has fallen. It rests sideways in the grass, half buried. Its mouth is filled with soil and silence. You strike it once with your hand. It does not ring, it sighs. That night, you make camp beneath a tree where once a boy played flute before the rope silenced him. You do not light a fire. You do not sleep. The stars do not blink. The wind carries laughter or weeping, or perhaps just wind. You whisper their names. Ellen. Tom, the jester, the man who stole cheese, the healer who mended before the rope took hold. Your voice is small, but the dark listens. And somewhere, far from roads and rooftops, something stirs in the earth, not angry, not vengeful, only waiting. The village is small, smaller than you remember. Snow falls in whispering layers, softening rooftops and fences, painting the world in hush. Even the crows seem quieter here, their wings slow, their calls swallowed. By the whiteness, you follow no road, only memory past the frozen creek, past the hollow tree struck by lightning a decade ago, past the stone that once marked the border between law and mercy. The cottage appears as though it grew from the earth, itself hunched, moss-veiled, its chimney puffing the faintest trace of breath. A light flickers behind the shuttered window, golden, alive. You knock once, then again, no answer. But the door is unlatched. You step inside. It is warmer than it should be, not from fire, but from something older. The scent of iron and beeswax. A hearth cold, but tended. Books stacked haphazardly along shelves too narrow to hold them all. A bundle of nettle in the rafters. A coat nailed to the wall, black, heavy, lined with wool so thick it might have once withstood snow and stairs alike. Then, a voice. You've come late. It is not unkind, not surprised. You turn. He sits by the window, in a wooden chair worn smooth by years. His hands rest on his knees, twisted, stiff. His eyes are pale, not from blindness, but from memory long carried. His hair, what remains of it, clings like frost. I knew someone would, he says. You say nothing, because there is nothing to say. He nods, as though this silence is an answer he recognizes. They called me the hood, he says. Some said, I was born with it. Others said, I never took it off. He chuckles once, low and dry, like a log cracking in the cold. I was the last. After me, no more. They stopped building platforms, stopped chanting, stopped watching. He leans back. They did not stop killing, but they made it quiet. You step closer. He gestures to a small box on the table. You open it. Inside, a coin, darkened by sweat and time. A ribbon, green and unraveling. A pebble shaped like a heart. A square of linen, stained at the corner with something that looks like blood or wine. And a note torn, barely legible. You lift it. The writing is crooked. Please, let it be quick. He watches you. They gave me things, he says, before the end. Not bribes, not bargains, just offerings. As if I could carry part of them beyond the rope. He flexes his fingers, or tries to. They used to tremble after I told myself it was the cold. You sit across from him. The silence grows heavier. Did you speak to them? You ask, only once. You wait. She was young, not more than 16. Her hands shook. She asked if I believed she was guilty. He smiles, but not with joy. I told her the truth, that I didn't know, that I wasn't allowed to know. He closes his eyes. She thanked me anyway. You glance again at the box. Do you remember their names? You ask. He nods. All of them. You ask for one, Ellen. The name leaves his lips like smoke. She was the last. He opens a drawer in the table, pulls out a strip of cloth, pale, violet, almost white, frayed, faintly perfumed. She dropped it when they brought her forward. He says, I picked it up, slipped it in my glove. You hold it. It smells of lavender and something older, something like rain on wood. She looked at the crowd, but not at me, he says. They never do. No one wants to meet the eyes beneath the hood. You look at him, I do. He meets your gaze. His eyes are not cruel, not kind, only tired. Was it worth it? You ask. He does not answer, not for a long while. Then he says, I did what was asked, but no one ever asked what it cost. You nod. He reaches into his pocket, holds out the coin. You take it. It is warm from his palm. Not for spending, he says, for remembering. Outside, the snow thickens. You rise. He does not follow. He sits, hands folded again, eyes turned to the glass. I will stay, he murmurs, as long as someone remembers how the hood felt when it fell into my hands. You leave the cottage. The door clicks shut behind you, and in the wind, you hear the faintest sound. Not a voice, not a cry, but something like a breath, held and then released. You walk for miles, past the last stone walls of memory, beyond where roads still claim names, where maps curl at the edges in uncertainty. The sky is low, heavy with unshed snow, and the world narrows until it becomes only breath, step, and thought. And then silence, true silence, not the hush of a village at rest, or the lull of forest shade, but a silence that has roots, that clings to your bones. The trees here do not sway. They stand as sentries, bark blackened, branches twisted like fingers in prayer or protest. Moss thickens beneath your feet. Each step is swallowed whole. You have come to the field. There are no signs, no markers, only crows. They perch in rows along branches and stones, unmoving, their feathers matted with age and damp. They do not call out, they only watch. 1,000. Cold black eyes turned toward you, not accusing, not warning, simply bearing witness. The air tastes like iron and ashdot. This is where the unburied lie, those denied the dignity of grave or name, condemned twice, once by verdict and once by silence. The forgotten, you kneel, press your palm to the earth. It is soft, cold, yielding, and yet, beneath it, something pulses faintly, not like life, but like echo. You close your eyes, and the voices begin, not with sound, but with presence. A flutter behind the ribs, a whisper against the cheek, a weight on the back of your tongue, shaped like names you were never taught. They are here, not angry, not vengeful, just present. You feel them in the rustle of wind, in the hush between heartbeats. The woman who sang as she burned, the boy who played a wooden flute while his noose waited, the man who juggled bones to drown the sobbing, the healer who held broken hands before the rope came, the executioner who collected last words like coins. They are all here, and they know you. You sit cross-legged, close your eyes again, and listen to their stories, their songs. Not all of them make sense. Some are fragments, some are only feelings, but together they form something whole, a testament not written in ink, but in breath and sorrow and resistance. The crows shift, their wings do not flap, they only settle deeper into their vigil. You open your eyes, the field remains empty, but it is not barren, Tiny offerings, the moss, a button, a coin, a sprig of dried heather, a child's doll missing its head, a broken spoon. You add the coin the executioner gave you, set it gently beside a stone, its face worn smooth by seasons. It glints once, then dulls. You rise, the trees do not move. But the wind begins again, soft, steady, as if exhaling. The crows rise, all at once, not with frenzy, but with grace. Their wings do not beat in chaos. They lift as one, like breath returned to sky. For a moment, the sun catches on their feathers, a gleam of midnight and silver. Then they vanish beyond the trees. You watch until the last shadow disappears, and you know, even the forgotten are not truly lost. They are here in the places we do not name, in the songs we do not sing, in the eyes of those who choose to remember. You begin the walk back. The moss closes behind your steps. The silence lifts. But something remains with you, not a burden, but a thread, a promise carried gently in your palm. They were here, you were here, and the story, once buried, has been heard. As the last echoes fade and the scaffold crumbles in your mind, I thank you for walking this long, haunted path. May the voices of the forgotten find peace in your memory. If this journey moved you, I invite you to return again, to listen, to feel, to remember. Subscribe, and let the stories of the past keep your heart warm tonight. What part of this journey stayed with you the most? Could you have stood in the crowd, or walked away? Which figure, the widow, the painter, the executioner's daughter, did you feel closest to? Have we truly left behind the age of spectacle, or have we simply changed its stage?